we're going to be talking about what I think are the best places to live in Southeast Asia for couples. I'm Flynn from Offshore in Asia. We help people move, do business and invest in Southeast Asia. So today it's going to be more or less a more casual video. I'm going to get into the details of a few different places that I think are really good for couples looking to move or live in Southeast Asia. When I say move and live, I factor in things like visa situations, things to do, just the general vibe of the place. Is it a good place to be if you're a couple or whatnot? You'll see a few videos coming up of singles and families as well. Although this is an easy, more lighthearted video, it is very important because a lot of people factor in plenty of different things when moving to a place, but they don't think about their particular stage in life, their relationship status and things like this, and how this might affect where they move. So I'm just going to give you a few ideas, a few things to think about when coming out here. The first place is Bali in Indonesia. I mean, everyone knows it, a lot of people love it, and it is really a good place to be if you're with someone else. Why Bali in particular? Well, there's lots to do. It's a place that appeals both to men and women. There's not many places in Southeast Asia where you see a pretty even gender mix of tourists or people living there. Bali is one of those few places though. You've got surfing, you've got hikes, you've got cafes, you've got spas. There's so much to do there, and there is a lot of Balinese and Indonesian culture everywhere naturally, but you also have a lot of foreign things around there, lots of nice foods and whatnot. Generally in a relationship, one person is more keen to move than the other, and I think that's a pretty good draw for the other partner. You know, oh yeah, yes, we are moving to Asia, or perhaps even it's, yes, we are going to work online for 3 months or 6 months or something like that, and we are going to Asia, and yes, it is different, maybe you've never been there before, but it does have, you know, cafes, you've got bars, you've got yoga, you've got all these nice things you do back home, and they do that in Bali, and it's cheaper and maybe even better. Now, one of the best things about Bali is its affordability and the quality of that. There's very few places in Southeast Asia where you can get accommodation as good as Bali for as cheap. There isn't as much just nice, cheap rentals like you have in places like Thailand or Vietnam, for instance, but you do have lots of really nice places you can get for a month for a really good price that, relative to how good they are really worthwhile. It's definitely a good place to base yourself as a couple if one of you isn't as keen on Asia yet, at least, or if you're looking for a more cosmopolitan or a little bit more Western lifestyle, you can still have a lot of that in Bali. So I'd highly recommend it for those people. The next one is the Kohs, and this is my name for all the different main tourist islands in Thailand. So Koh Phangan, Koh Samui, Koh Lanta, all these places. I'd highly recommend these to a lot of people who maybe are drawn to the idea of Bali, but just don't like the idea of living in what is effectively a big city with lots of different suburbs, really. Like, that's what I get the feel of when I'm in somewhere like Canggu. It's just a big town, and a busy one for that matter. If you want somewhere more, if you think, you know, tropical island paradise, I think the Thai islands, the Kohs, as I like to say, get a lot closer to that. They don't have surf, they're not quite as accessible by air. Again, if you're living there, that's not a huge issue, really. It doesn't take too long to get there. Maybe it's an extra, you know, half day of travel or day of travel, whatnot, but it's really worth it. Particularly Koh Phangan, I'm really fond of as far as a place to live. I haven't lived there yet. However, all my friends who've been there end up staying a lot longer. As someone who has traveled there though, it's got a really nice mix. If you start in the south, it is busy, touristy, lots of parties. The more north you go, the less populated and more, I guess, alternative or kind of hippie it gets. So you'll arrive at the south of the island, and from there you can pretty much just travel up the island and find a spot that works best for you. Koh Samui and Koh Lanta are also really good options. Lots of people really like Koh Lanta. It's much more calm than the other places. There's a lot less going on, but it is very, very beautiful. Koh Samui is also great. It's a bit more developed, but it's also bigger anyway. It's got an international airport. It's got more medical facilities and things like that. Being a bigger island and a more touristy island, you have access to a lot of different things that you might not have access to on somewhere like Koh Phangan or Koh Lanta. So if you do want to be a little bit connected to the outside world and have a bit more of the conveniences, that's probably a better place to choose, and it is well connected as well. And a point on Thailand as a whole, the visa situation is really good in Thailand compared to the rest of Southeast Asia. You can get 30 days on arrival and extend that by 30, or apply for a visa beforehand and get 60 days, which can be extended by 30. If you want to live there longer term, there's also lots of options. You've got, just on the lower end, things like education or volunteer visas. And then if you really want to get settled in the country, you have things like elite visas and the visas from the immigrant category class, which have lots of different requirements for specific people, but are also good options if you want to get set up there long term. The next place is Vietnam. And the big caveat with Vietnam is there aren't many long-term visa options. But if you do want to just spend, say, 3 months in a place, Vietnam is good for that. For people traveling as couples, Hanoi and Hoi An are both awesome places. They've got beautiful old colonial or traditional Vietnamese architecture, great coffee, lots to do. There's just lots of beautiful sites. If you're an Instagrammer, it's probably going to be a pretty good place, both of them for you. Vietnam is also dirt cheap, especially to travel. Living in Vietnam for a lot of people ends up costing about the same as Bali or Thailand, maybe a tad cheaper. But traveling itself in Vietnam is incredibly cheap. So if you want to go somewhere for a few months, maybe settle in for a month or two in 1 or 2 places each, Vietnam is a really great option for that. The next place I recommend to couples is the Malaysian island of Penang. Penang is awesome. Georgetown in particular, the de facto capital of the island, is a beautiful old British colonial town with some of the best food in the world. It's got the classic Malaysian blend of your Indian food, Chinese food, and Malay food. So you can have different cuisines every night and it's all fantastic. There's lots to do. It's really artsy, lots of awesome street art and things like that. And there's also actually lots of walks just on the island itself. There's plenty of jungle cover. And just right from Georgetown, you can just go up, go for walks in the jungle, whatnot. There's beaches around the other side. So if you do want that convenience and that, I guess, energy of city life, but you also want to be able to, drive 20, 30 minutes and get to the mountains or the beach, you can do that here. So it's a really good option. It's a good place to at least check out. A lot of Western countries, particularly the Commonwealth ones, get 90 days on arrival. So it's a really easy place. If you are coming to Southeast Asia, want to get set up, want somewhere that's a bit of everything but not too much of anything, Penang's an awesome option for that. Honorable mentions that didn't quite make it into the official list, I'd say Lombok. It's an island just near Bali in Indonesia. That's a beautiful island. A lot of people say that's what Bali was like 30 years ago. I wasn't around there, so I can't attest to that. However, it's beautiful, amazing beaches, much, much less developed and much more green than Bali, a lot more quiet. It's got a lot of the similar things. It's a Muslim island, so you don't have that similar like Hindu, Balinese culture, but a lot of people say it's a fantastic place to stay. Koh Phangan is a fairly large town on the beach in Thailand. It's got to mention because it's less popular than the places further south and it's a lot less tourists there. So if you do want to settle into a place and not feel like you're on a perpetual holiday, this is a great place, but you've still got the beach and you've still got the affordability and delicious food and all those things that come with a holiday. The last place, and my favorite, is Luang Prabang in Laos. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and with good reason. It's an ancient, beautiful town with amazing blend of French and Lao architecture. It's small, it's quiet, it's very beautiful, and it's on the confluence of the Nam Can and the Mekong rivers on its own little small peninsula that's only about 3 roads wide. So it's an awesome place, beautiful cafes looking over the river. If you really want to relax for a few weeks, a month, it's a great place to go. Just 2 really quick notes on visas for couples. So dependent visas are a thing. What's that mean? Effectively, a dependent visa is a visa that can attach to a main visa application and grant the person's dependents, so spouse, children, 2 visas. The best thing about this is that if one of you can apply for a certain visa, maybe one of you is even working over here and has a work permit, or even some other visas, around education, volunteer, whatnot, depending on where you are in different countries, you might be able to qualify for a dependent visa as well. So just bear that in mind. Just because only one of you can qualify for a visa, just check the requirements. Maybe the other person can come in on dependent with that visa. The last point is also just factor in things like income requirements to whatnot. If you're traveling by yourself and the entry requirement is to have, say, $10,000 or equivalent, if you're traveling with a couple, is it still that, or is it 15, or is it 20? Just check that, because sometimes even if you're traveling together, you might be viewed as single. So if the sum of your net worth is enough, or your bank statement is enough for one person or both of you, is there going to be issues? That's all for the video. Let me know what you think. Any other places I've missed, any places you wouldn't recommend. Have you traveled as a couple before? If no, please let me know what you think. And I hope you enjoyed the video, so thank you very much.